Most people spend their lives believing that one day they will finally figure life out. If they can make the right decisions, avoid the wrong ones, and understand enough about themselves and the world, eventually everything will make sense. Life will become predictable. The uncertainty will disappear. They will finally know what to do. Every situation becomes something to solve. Every setback becomes something to explain. Every decision carries the pressure of getting it right, because it feels as though one wrong move could take life in the wrong direction. Even after learning to trust intuition, this habit often remains. Intuition simply becomes another tool for finding the correct answer. The question is still, what should I do? The hope is that somewhere there is a final decision that will remove uncertainty once and for all. But there comes a point where something begins to soften. You notice that life never actually stops responding. Every action changes the conditions. Every experience reveals something new. Every answer leads to another conversation. The question quietly changes. It is no longer, what should I do? It becomes, what is life showing me now? That shift changes everything. Life is no longer something you have to figure out before you can live it. It is not a problem waiting to be solved. It is an ongoing dialogue, and every moment is already part of the conversation. The difficulty is not that life is uncertain. The difficulty is that we keep expecting uncertainty to end. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that somewhere ahead, there is a level of understanding that will finally allow us to relax. One perfect decision, one complete explanation, one breakthrough that removes the need to question anything again. The nervous system naturally moves in this direction because certainty feels safer than responsiveness. If everything can be predicted, nothing unexpected has to be met. If the future can be secured, vigilance can finally stop. So we spend much of our lives trying to find the perfect answer, the perfect relationship, the perfect career, the perfect belief, the perfect strategy. We try to eliminate uncertainty, avoid discomfort, and finally know. But every answer quietly becomes an attempt to stop listening. What we call certainty is often the hope that the conversation with life can finally be finished. Yet life never becomes static. Every action produces feedback, every relationship changes. Every success creates new conditions. Every disappointment reveals information that was unavailable before. Every ending becomes the beginning of another response. Reality never stops participating. It continues speaking through consequences, through timing, through friction, through ease, through what opens and what quietly falls away. The problem is not that life keeps changing. The suffering comes from expecting it not to. When we expect the conversation to end, every unexpected event feels like an interruption. Every change feels like something has gone wrong. Every adjustment feels like evidence that we failed to understand. But dialogue has never been a sign that something is broken. Dialogue is how life remains alive. It is how intelligence continues to refine itself. Every proposal invites a response. Every response invites adjustment, and every adjustment allows the next movement to become more accurate than the last. The conversation was never meant to end. It was always meant to continue. When life is understood as an ongoing dialogue, everything begins to change, not because the world becomes easier, but because your relationship with it becomes more intelligent. Work is no longer about creating the perfect plan and forcing reality to conform to it. Plans become proposals rather than predictions. You take the next step, observe the response, and allow feedback to refine what comes next. Progress is no longer measured by how closely reality follows your expectations, but by how accurately you continue to respond to changing conditions. Relationships change in the same way. Instead of trying to protect positions or defend identities, listening becomes more important than being right. You no longer need another person to remain exactly as they were yesterday because you are no longer trying to freeze the conversation. As each person continues to grow and respond, the relationship remains alive. Connection deepens because neither person is required to stay fixed in order for the relationship to remain stable. Achievement also takes on a different quality. Success is no longer defined by predicting the future correctly. It becomes the ability to remain responsive as life unfolds. Decisions are still made, commitments are still honored, goals are still pursued, but none of them are treated as permanent conclusions. Every outcome becomes part of the next conversation rather than the final destination. Even your relationship with your body begins to change. Instead of trying to control it, overcome it, or demand more from it, you begin listening to it. Fatigue becomes information instead of failure. Energy becomes information instead of permission. Tension becomes information instead of something to suppress. The body is no longer treated as an obstacle that must obey the mind. It becomes one of the ways reality continues to speak. This changes spiritual growth as well. Many people imagine awakening as reaching a final state that must be maintained or protected. But dialogue has no final position to defend. There is no ultimate conclusion where learning stops or responsiveness ends. There is simply increasing participation in reality as it continues to unfold. As this way of living stabilizes, certain qualities begin to emerge naturally. Flexibility replaces rigidity because you no longer need every moment to confirm your expectations. Resilience grows because adjustment is no longer experienced as failure. Creativity expands because possibilities remain open instead of collapsing into fixed conclusions. Regulation deepens because the nervous system no longer carries the impossible burden of predicting everything in advance. And coherence emerges because your actions remain connected to what is actually happening rather than to what you hoped would happen. None of this requires becoming passive. In fact, participation becomes more active than control ever was. You continue proposing, life continues responding, you continue adjusting. The conversation remains alive. And as it does, life becomes less about achieving certainty and more about participating fully in reality as it is. The deepest change does not happen in your thinking. It happens in your body. As long as life is approached as something that must be controlled, the nervous system remains organized around preparation. It braces against uncertainty, scans for danger, and searches constantly for the next correct answer. The body is always trying to stay one step ahead of life, but something begins to relax when life is understood as an ongoing dialogue. The body no longer carries the impossible responsibility of knowing everything in advance. Instead of preparing for control, it prepares for contact. Instead of searching for certainty, it becomes available to response. Listening becomes more important than conclusion. Curiosity begins to replace defense. Receiving becomes more natural than imposing. This does not make you passive. In many ways, it allows you to become more decisive. Action still happens, sometimes quickly, sometimes with great clarity, sometimes with extraordinary commitment. But there is one important difference. Every action remains open to correction. There is no need to defend yesterday's decision simply because it was once made. There is no need to force consistency when reality has revealed something new. Changing direction is no longer experienced as failure. It is simply the next response in an ongoing conversation. This is not indecision. It is freedom from psychological rigidity. The mind no longer has to protect fixed conclusions. The nervous system no longer has to defend certainty. Because dialogue remains alive, intelligence remains alive. Every response becomes another opportunity to become more accurate. Every adjustment deepens contact. Every moment becomes another invitation to participate rather than control. Coherence is no longer something you achieve through perfect thinking. It arises naturally when you remain present enough to stay in the conversation. Perhaps the greatest freedom is not found in finally understanding life. It is found in no longer needing life to become predictable before you can participate in it. You may discover that life was never asking you to predict it. It was asking you to remain in relationship with it, to make your proposal, to receive its response, to adjust with honesty, and then to meet the next moment in exactly the same way. Every moment becomes both an expression of your participation and a response from reality itself. Nothing is ever completely finished. Nothing needs to be. The conversation continues because life continues. What changes is not the uncertainty of the world. What changes is your willingness to remain in contact with it. Eventually, alignment is no longer something you occasionally discover after everything finally works out. It becomes the way you meet each moment, not through force, not through certainty, but through continued participation in reality as it unfolds. And perhaps that is what it has meant to live in alignment all along.